This is, there it is, core component mock, and this is Holy Cross mock number 4. We're on to question 3, and this is compounds being transported through a membrane. Complete the table. And so names the thing that it uses to get through and factors affecting the rate of transport. Okay, so just a recap of where we are with membranes. Well, a membrane is our phospholipid bilayer, and this middle section is our fatty acid, so our fatty acid tails, and then we've got our phosphate heads there. And so our fatty acid tails are lipid in construction, so those won't let water soluble things through. Water soluble things will be attracted to the phosphate heads but won't be able to get through this lipid part of the bilayer. If they are lipid soluble, well, if it's lipid soluble, it will be able to just diffuse through this layer. So anything that's lipid soluble can just rely on diffusion. So diffusion through the lipid bilayer. Yeah, I should have put that there. So yes, diffusion, lipid bilayer. Always read the question. So diffusion there. Factors affecting the rate of transport. Well, if it's diffusion, well, lots of things will affect this, but things like the concentration gradient, Always say concentration, don't say conc or anything like that, because it could stand for all sorts of different things. So show them that you know the answer. So concentration gradient, you could have the size of the molecule and a few other things, but we'll stick with concentration gradient as a main thing there. And then our other two types of compound, we have got water soluble for both of them. So this is a water soluble compound. It can't get through that lipid bilayer, so it's going to need something else to help it get through. We could use a channel protein. So if I draw a channel protein there, then our water soluble compound could get through our channel protein, because these channel proteins have got hydrophilic linings to them. Okay, and if this is the outside of the cell and this is the inside of the cell, then water soluble compounds could travel through this if there's a gradient to support that. So the first example is high external concentration, so higher concentration outside than it is inside, so yes, we'd get movement there. So that's by diffusion, but it's diffusion through this protein channel, so it's helped. It's diffusion that's helped, it's diffusion that's facilitated. Facile, yeah, it means easy. So that's our facilitated diffusion. The component, well, the component is this channel, this protein channel. You could possibly say transport protein. It's a bit vague. That would get you the mark. But if you say protein channel, it makes it really clear that it's facilitated diffusion. So I'm going to stick with that. Factors affecting the rate of transport, well, it's diffusion. So again, we could have concentration gradient. But also a few other things that maybe the number of these carriers that are available. So the number of protein transport proteins, or number of channels. The number of channel proteins that are available. So number of channel proteins, or anything that affects these channel proteins might affect the rate. So if you've got extremes of pH or so on. I'm just going to go with concentration gradient. And the other situation where the gradient is the other way around, yet we're still wanting to go into the cell. So it says rate of entry. So if the gradient is the other way around, well, we can't use a channel because the substance would just leak out again. And we need something else. So if I draw my little section of membrane, and if we've got water soluble compound, but it's actually at higher concentration inside the cell. So this is inside the cell, that's outside of the cell. Well, in order to get transport this way, in order to get transport that way, it's against the gradient, so we're going to need something to help it, but not a channel, because this high concentration it would diffuse the other way. So we're going to use some sort of protein, transport protein, but really we're going to call it a carrier protein in this instance. And there's the rest of the membrane. So mode of transport. This is now active transport, as it's against the gradient. So active transport. The component of the membrane which passes, so we decided we're going to call this, it's not a channel, but it's a carrier protein. Factors affecting the rate of transport. As soon as we go into active, well, it depends on how much energy we've got available in the form of ATP. So ATP concentration, or ATP availability, oxygen availability for respiration, those sorts of things are the best sort of answers. But I've gone with ATP there. And so nine marks just for really remembering about your different forms of transport. No real application there.